know when we're live.
Ready.
I think we're up. There we go then. Hello and welcome to a race for, well, a two-part race, I should say. We're starting off with a 3-lap slow driving formation in honour of our Black Lives Matter race. A race and a conversation, I think, with my co-commentator tonight, I think we shouldn't really be having, but we are having. And I will welcome him now. Riggs, welcome along to discuss what state our world is in at the moment. I mean, it's not great, but you know we are gonna race as one tonight to show our support. But it is it's not great at the moment. Hopefully, it gets better.
No, definitely. I'm totally on board. I feel like this is definitely a conversation that we definitely should not be having, but I feel like we need to, considering the climate. This, I would assume, is going to be a very in-depth analysis and everything that's going to happen anyway as we see the drivers on the grid preparing the formation. But as you rightly say, definitely not a conversation we wish to be having, but unfortunately we're finding ourselves in a position where we need to just tackle this, like, kind of grab the bull by the horn and, like, just go into depth about what's wrong with our current society and how we must be better.
Exactly. You'll see everybody with their own liveries that they have designed, and they have kindly followed what I have said earlier in the week. Yeah, being subject to racism that doesn't feel great one bit, and I have experienced racism before. Not great, but I've had to deal with it, and you know, you kind of just have to. You don't want to ignore it, but it's just sometimes people are just stuck in the ways. You've seen earlier on today, I think, Lewis Hamilton called out Mario Andretti and Sir Jackie Stewart, saying there isn't a problem in F1. Well, I disagree with, and I think pretty much everyone will disagree with. So whether it be person to person, whether it be systematic, it does still exist, and it needs to get rid of. It's not going to be an overnight process. It's going to take a while. We know that, but hopefully one day we will have that equality. And we won't even have to be having these conversations.
I did see the tweet earlier in regards to Mario Andretti and Sir Jackie Stewart, and I'm totally on board with disagreeing with that message because they're using the privilege to avoid that, and it's like saying, "Oh, it didn't happen in my time, so it can't be true," and then they're completely missing the point. Like, because, like, I would admit, I'm sitting here and I'm white, right? And, like, I can never understand, like, discrimination and abuse. But I will stand alongside people who have.
Sorry, yeah. Go on.
To do the same. And if you don't know anything, educate yourself, read online sites, journals, blogs, whatever. We're here to help enlighten people who just don't understand, and we're trying to make this world a better place. And we need to eradicate the evil that is racism. And we're tackling it as hard as we can. And that's the thing as well. It's the same with the message in Formula 1 as well. Like, if we're talking about Jackie Stewart and Mario Andretti, we do not agree with the message that they're sending out, purely because it just undermines the message that F1's trying to get across. And it's the same with Lewis Hamilton. He is the main figurehead, and he is trying to make the world better, and he's trying to open up Formula One for the to make it more inclusive, more diverse for lower minorities. He even said in the Mercedes had a press release a few weeks ago saying that most of the staff was 97% male, and like 95 was it was 88% was male and 95 was white, or something like that. It was scarily high statistics. So it really just shows that it's a male, white dominated sport that just isn't open, and that's exactly why Lewis Hamilton is consistently making such a push, is to make it more inclusive and more diverse, and just like you were saying, generally trying to make the world a better place, trying to strive for that equality that we should have been out. It's 2020, and we're still no got it, and we're still treating people of different minorities and people of colour as second-class citizens, when that definitely should not be the case. Joe Darnell says, sounds awful, stuttering bad, so have I got an issue?
No, you're fine. You're definitely fine. I was going to add to that. So obviously we saw, I forget her name now. I think it was Stephanie. Was it Stephanie Travers? The woman on the podium.
That was alongside him on the podium.
Yeah. So and obviously he made his gesture at the end of the Styrian Grand Prix as well, being the only black driver to participate in Formula One. It kind of opens your eyes a lot to the situation that is in Formula One now. It's not even just Formula One, it's everywhere. Obviously we're showing Formula One now as that's the sport we're involved with on this game, obviously, and the sport we love majority. Obviously I've involved in tennis. I haven't necessarily seen it a lot, but for instance where I work, where I play tennis, there isn't a lot of black people involved. Really, I'm the only mixed race person around that works there, so obviously you have to have the skill set, there's no denying that, but it's about getting those chances in lower down in the scale, like the grassroots. There's obviously more people that are white participating in the grassroots, so it's about having those opportunities which we know that black people don't have. As we finish our 3-lap driving on, and we'll get on with the main event shortly. Yeah. Go on.
I was just gonna say, like, there is, like, when you read into just how big the gap is between white and black and other ethnic minorities, it really does kind of put it into perspective, because you read into like certain journals, certain like blogs, websites, articles, and it's like there is like some areas of work that's still higher based on skin colour and on like other like prejudicial like means, and like you were saying, like getting access, like when you were like growing up with tennis and that, it was like it is really difficult it's a really difficult sport to break into, and I don't really know too much about tennis. I mean, I do like watching tennis and that, but in terms, I think it's racial like diversification and that. I mean, I'll admit I don't know if I just don't watch enough games, but I don't really see many like black players other than the Williams sisters.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know if I'm just being shielded. If I don't really watch too many games. They're the only tennis players I can name off the top of my head that are black.
Yeah, I think it's almost like people. I think you can say that for everybody. People just turn a blind eye to deny what they're seeing around them. Almost kind of when George Floyd, obviously, the news of George Floyd broke the internet, broke the world. There was obviously a large outcry, and so rightly as well, because that just shouldn't happen. But unfortunately, it is. It does, and then obviously with the marches, and obviously you said Lewis Hamilton joining as well. There was some conflict, which is also not great.
I also saw I also like read into it today that while we're kind of talking about Formula One, while we're talking about Lewis Hamilton, we're in the Formula One game hosting a social event in honour of raising awareness for the Black Lives Matter movement. If I can just keep it bogged on Formula One for the minute, and I'll say that I remember seeing on Twitter earlier on today, like alongside the Mario Andretti and Sir Jackie Stewart statements. I also saw that Roman Grosjean says that doing the knee once was enough, and that's also completely missing the point, because that, in my eyes, is him exercising a level of privilege to just say, right, alright, okay, we've done it once, we've done our part. It completely just turns a blind eye, like you're saying, to the issue of racism. We're not tackling that full on, so why can we sit here and say Formula One's going to do its part if its leading member of the GTPA is saying once is enough when it's still ongoing everywhere else? I've sat and watched since the restart Premier League fixtures, and every time the players take the knee, refs take the knee, managers take the knee. Why can we not get it in Formula One? It seems to be the message getting lost in translation. Like, I remember Daniel Kvyat saying, because he has Russian background, you don't kneel for anything other than other than the flag and the leadership or something like that. It's like it's something along those lines. So it's very finite in what he kneels for. Max Verstappen is, he's just mania. Him, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Giovinazzi, who's the other one? There was 6. Oh, Kimi, Kimi Raikkonen as well. The message either just seems to be getting, I don't know how it can be getting lost in translation. It's just a simple knee. Like, it kind of shows solidification and unity in a time that we really need to be united rather than divided. And if Formula One just can't get a simple message right, then why should we believe them in going forward with this? Like,
yeah, it's just mixed messages. For the past few weeks, obviously you've had a triple header in Formula One, and it's you want everyone. Yeah, you see football, they all do it. Cricket, they all do it. Literally, you probably look anywhere and they all do it. And then Formula One, it's kind of just mixed. And for people who say, "Oh, we don't want to bring politics into Formula One," it's not politics. It's just a basic human right, human nature, whatever you want to call it. It's nothing to do with that. There is some racism, obviously deep rooted in the political structure, of course, but racism in general is not politics. So I don't understand why they don't all take a knee. It's a mark of solidarity. It's kneeling against racism. They say they want to end racism, yet they don't kneel. It's kind of like, do you really believe that? You can't sort of question Formula One as well. So we'll see what happens from the British Grand Prix, obviously. So let's hope for change, of course.
Honestly, if it's been like Formula One has had 3 attempts at this, they've had 3 races this season so far. They had the Austrian Grand Prix, they had the one Styria, which was just Austria 2.0, and they've just no long finished the race at the Hungaroring yesterday. And all 3 times they failed to just broadcast a simple message of solidarity. And last night's race at Hungary just not only showed the message being lost in translation, it just looked like an absolute shambles. Like you are having drivers running, about like drivers were late to the gathering. The drivers were kind of kneeling, and then some drivers were kneeling, they were already standing. Like, and then the anthem played, and then everybody had to stand. Not everybody was there for the anthem either. It was just a complete shambles. And it's the same thing as well. And the same as MotoGP. I can't remember the name, but as far as I'm aware, in MotoGP, only one driver kneeled, and that was it. It was almost as if it wasn't even a problem for them. Like, it was just the gesture of taking the knee was just no there.
Exactly. I think you talk about NASCAR
that just
as well.
kind of shows. And NASCAR as well, they rallied behind Bubba Wallace, but then after that, it was just seemed to be like, oh, this. If you don't understand the Bubba Wallace situation, Bubba Wallace is a NASCAR driver. He's the only black NASCAR driver in the series, and he went into his garage to find a noose hanging there in his garage, and Bubba was victim to a hate crime, a race crime, and then it was judged to be, it was just there for the last time they were there, and I'm like, but how does that make it better? Like, like I don't have words for that. Like I don't.
think
And
anyone does, to be honest. It's just people are stuck in their ways. Like I say, it's going to take a while for this to change, and it's unfortunate. And if we can leave the world in a better place, and that's all we want to do as human beings, we want to leave the world in a better place for the people to follow. If you have any sense, really.
mm-hmm. Like that's, and it's the same thing as well. Like you go into your social media platform, you go into Twitter, you go into Facebook, you go into Snapchat, like whatever you use to keep up with your sporting information, and you'll maybe go if you go into Twitter, that's my main platform. That's where you'll catch me float about. But if you go into Twitter and you can type in Lewis Hamilton or F1 and then put in the BLM, which is the hashtag, like you see so much hate for it, and it's this, and it's like you were saying, it's this, oh, I don't want politics on my sport. It's no politics, it's a social issue, and if you can't see it as a social issue, then you're part of the problem. Like, I remember when Hamilton was exercising his right to voice his discontent, and the fact that F1 is this white male-dominated sport, and then folk just come out with this bile that's like, oh, but he drives the Mercedes and they built cars for the Nazis. But I mean, if you say that, nobody would want to buy a Mercedes.
Exactly.
Why do you see Mercedes so popular now? Like, and it's like, oh, and Hugo Boss built the outfits in, made the outfits in that, and I'm like, right, okay, did they go genociding? Did big Hugo Boss go out there? Why didn't they? Like, they were, and plus at that time anyway, if you if you rejected an offer by that authoritarian government at the time, you all ken what one I'm talking about. Like, then you'd probably get the firing squad on you. And that's the kind of same. It's the same thing with the message. Like, if folk that just can't understand and get a proper grasp of the message are the ones that project this onto your platform, and I will tell you right now, it is not welcome. Like, I don't condone it. Condone it? That's the right word. The right word. Condone or condemn? Condemn means
condone.
bad towards it.
You don't condone it.
I don't condone it.
Yeah. I mean,
no.
It's also, well, it's hard to talk about, obviously. But like you say, for the people who say, oh, Mercedes-Benz were obviously involved with the Nazis, but Mercedes is German. They can't help being manufactured in Germany back then. They've obviously changed. That's a long time ago. It's obviously 70 years ago, or just over 70 years ago, and they have obviously changed. I mean, they've hired Lewis Hamilton, for Christ's sake. So.
Aye, and and that's the thing as well. Like, if you're like, I'm not saying, like, see, the thing is, people are saying because Mercedes and Hugo Boss worked in close tandem with the Nazi government in the mid 1930s, early 40s, before the Second World War. Like, they're like, see, the thing is, we're not saying if well, like, see, if you're projecting that bile, saying, oh, but he's sponsored by Hugo Boss, he drives a Mercedes. It's no Mercedes and Hugo Boss committing these crimes and genocides and everything else. And if you even go to Germany, like, see, if you go to Germany right now, also don't go right now because of the coronavirus, but like, if you go to Germany, you will not find a single piece of information regarding that empire, because they're trying to cleanse themselves of that history. They don't want to be associated with that. And it's the same way talking about how the UK and the US, if there's any other countries that have been doing this particular gesture, please let me know. But they've been starting to remove statues, slave traders and racists for years past. Like, I remember seeing in Bristol, they removed the statue of Edward Colston, who was a slave trader and a racist, a bigot, and just a general bad person. It's the same way the United States, where they defaced and removed the statue of Christopher Columbus in Boston. Like, and removing statues, in my opinion, is a start. Like, we shouldn't be having statues commemorating these bad people. And you see the counter argument when it's like, oh, but it's a product of their time. And that's the main argument. It's, oh, it's a product of their time, we've done this and that. And then we're like, aye, but it's a product of that time. It's this time now. And that is not accepted. Mm-hmm. And it's, and I mean, everybody was like, I mean, most posts I saw in regards to that was talking about, oh yes, right, okay, this is a new start. We're going to remove all these statues of racists, slave traders, bigots, misogynists, everybody else. And then it came to the idea of, like, people were kind of like, there was people that obviously objected the movement, saying like, I bet he built schools, he built hospitals, he invested in the area, and I'm like, aye, but we're not celebrating that. Like, aye, right, okay, you can do that, but if you're being neglectable towards a certain group of people, if you're being a racist, a slave trader, you do not deserve to have a statue in your name. And that kind of comes to light when you talk about once that movement started kind of snowballing. Winston Churchill also became the big name, and it's like, oh, but he stopped us becoming this one speaking world and authoritarian planet and everything else. And then you hear the story about him saying that, I'll not get into too much detail because I don't want to, like, offend anybody, but if you want to read into that, there is definitely articles out there in regards to that, where he was alienating a group of what was it? I think it was Indians, and like people from the Far East, and they were saying, and how he was saying they were like, in quotes, they were beastly, and I was just like, that is not on. Like, why do we have a statue of him? And I don't understand why we can't celebrate everybody, the people that have done good, like just people that, like, if you're gonna name one off the top of your head, like, what about Alan Turing, who was the guy that effectively stopped the Nazis winning, or I'm trying to really think. It's really hard to think of good people off the top of your head, but you can what I mean.
Yeah, I think you talk about Winston Churchill. Obviously, what he done for our country was great. How he treated other people wasn't great. Kind of a double-edged sword, really. So just a little bit say two-faced. He was obviously a great guy for our country. What he did for us was great. How he treated other people, like I said before, and like you said, he had a checkered history. But yeah, I think obviously, I think it was Michael Holding in cricket. He spoke very well on this issue, and he was saying that you need to have it. It needs to be educated from schools. He was talking about Thomas Edison saying when he made the light bulb that the guy who made the filament was actually black, but we don't get taught that. We don't get taught that the guy who actually made the filament for the light bulb was black. We don't even talk about that. So you wouldn't know that. If I asked you who made that, you wouldn't know that. Not every person on the street would know
I
that.
definitely would not.
So
I definitely
it has to be.
the idea.
It has to be educated in schools.
I
Otherwise,
think that's kind of where it should be.
when is this going to change?
I think schools embedding racial history into your curriculum is a priority at this stage. I mean, I say at this stage, it really should have been before now, and we can't stress that enough to the viewers, to the drivers, to everybody in our SLR community and in the wider society. We can't stress that enough to you. We don't want to be having this conversation, but you find us in this exact predicament. And talking about education, we need to understand we need to understand our history better, and then understand the racial history as well. Like, because as British, we are no exempt. Like, we don't get that free pass. We are a big culprit in the racial history in regards to like slave trading and honestly, I'm kind of falling flat on what else, but there's countless things. Honestly, you could Google it and it's there. Like, you'll see British Empire, Britain. Like, it's us. We are the problem, and people just can't see that. And I feel like having that in our education is a good start, because you're taught to hate.
Yeah. Obviously, you have the older generation, as you've seen. People kind of, they obviously say, all lives matter. We're not saying all lives matter. I've got a poster here that I saved a picture of, and it says, "We said Black Lives Matter. We never said only Black Lives Matter. We know all lives matter. We just need your help with Black Lives Matter, for Black lives are in danger." And that is a little girl holding that up. So,
What, sorry?
a little girl holding that up. Yes, all lives matter, but if you look at the wider picture, not all lives matter, because Black lives are in danger, like that poster said.
That's exactly it. Like,
we need people to focus on the Black lives from a lower level, so they get the opportunities, help the people who need it now as well, and then that way, the world becomes a better place. Different leaders in charge, obviously. Boris Johnson and Donald Trump. It's not exactly the greatest duo we have in the world.
It's the Chuckle Brothers right there. Like,
yeah,
can't tell their back end for their elbows, but like, honestly, I mean, I mean, we can't. Like I was going to say, I'll try and sway away to the political side of it, I think, but we can't turn a blind eye to that, because we know we know the governments are a big problem. Racism is institutionalised. It's a power used against people of colour to disadvantage them, and we know that, and we'll educate people so they know that as well. They
That's
are
the systematic
problem.
side, though, isn't it?
That's the systematic racism. It is the problem. And I feel like you have to blame the government as well as the racists. Because Boris Johnson, you can Google him. He has got a track record of being a racist, Islamophobic. xenophobic, misogynist, sexist. List goes on. Donald Trump, don't even get me started on him. Because we ken what he's been saying, and we know what he's like. Like, there's been, in Charlotte, a couple of years back, there was far-right extremists and racists protesting, and they ended up just basically terrorising the place. Also racist chants, Nazi salutes, and that were in a public display for all to see, and they clashed with just general folks. And then Donald Trump came out and said, "Oh, both sides are to blame." And I'm like, are they though, Donald? And it's the same with Boris Johnson. Like, you can put him up for one thing in regards to. I remember one of the Labour MPs had called him out, and I honestly forget his name. And he was a person of colour as well, standing as part of the Labour Party. And he called Boris Johnson out for being a racist as well, when he says that Muslim women who wear burqas look like letterboxes, and he calls gay men bum boys, and it's stuff like that that's just not acceptable. And like, I can also, we have to maybe try and be a bit careful what we're saying, but that's not going to help us get the issue out there. That's not going to help us raise awareness, and we need to address that. The government is the problem, as well as the racists.
Yeah, I agree. It's a strange. You say it's a strange world. It's obviously with the coronavirus as well. But yeah, racism is a big issue. I've seen people say that the pandemic is racism, and to a large extent they're right. We do have two pandemics going on at the moment. Even though what we do, obviously we are putting our platform on the F1 game here, so it's nice to see all the people with their Black Lives Matter liveries. We'll see a fantastic shot on the formation lap soon. I see someone has commented saying, don't forget Putin and Xi Jinping in your list. Let's face it, a huge majority of the world's people are led by these sorts of people. Like you say, we don't want to talk about politics, but deep-rooted in politics, there is a lot of racism, so I think that's where the mixture of racism and politics comes in, because we see a large amount of racism, systematic racism, in the political world. And hopefully that changes. It'll take time, like I keep saying, but we have to start somewhere.
Definitely, and see, the thing is, it's the same thing again. We wanted to have started this a long time ago. It's a shame that we are starting now. It really is, because we're way too far behind. And honestly, like, Amico, Putin, I mean, it's still a crime to be gay in Russia. So there's a big group of people marginalised already. It's the same for being a person of colour, because I know Putin has a track record as well. Xi Jinping, honestly, my Chinese history isn't too much, but I know that it's, let's just say, it's not run very efficiently, and it's the same type of government. It's authoritarian, it's totalitarian. You know, they are the problems. They're the governments that have the problems. But I mean, at the same time, you can probably look at anybody, and there's a wee smidge in their resume that shows that they've been racist at some point. But is it a 5-minute break? Because we have just completely ignored what the results were.
Yeah, I just went down the results. I don't know, they can read it up when they like. But yeah, obviously, it's time to wait and see what happens.
You want to use this opportunity to invite people to. I mean, I was going to take a knee at the interval, which I'm going to do now. I'm going to move my chair back though. Like, but
Yeah, they're ready up now, so they're going to start. But we have the formation
Ow.
lap, of course. So us commentators are going to take a knee during the formation lap before we get to lights out, as a mark of respect. We can ask you viewers to take a knee if you would like. Obviously, you have personal choice, but I would strongly suggest that you take a knee if you can do. But yeah, I will do that now while the formation lap goes on. I have, like I said before, I've experienced racism. There wasn't a formation lap, but I forgot to turn that on. But we'll take a knee during the first lap anyway. And then we'll carry on. We'll have the race on in the background, of course, and I'll try my best to keep up with it. But yeah, experiencing racism isn't a nice thing at all, and we are showing our support with this race tonight. And hopefully we will have a brighter future, as we obviously have discussed some topics. We'll try to discuss as many topics as we can across race distance, as we see our drivers with all their different liveries that they have designed. They asked them to design during the last few weeks. So I wanted to do this, so I felt that it was the right thing to do.
I definitely think it's the right thing to do. I hope that as we get to that job, but I hope during that small interval, a good few years, go up off your chairs, up off your couch, showed support alongside myself and them. I will also post on my Twitter at the end of this stream how you can contribute and play a part. I think I did so already, but I'll just send it at the end. I sent a link.
Yeah, there will be some. Obviously, there's a load of petitions you can sign. There's loads of stuff you can donate. You can do everything now. The community has come out in full force, and it's what you like to see. Obviously, you have some people who do make some silly comments, but there is more people in this world that will unite against racism, and we will make this world a better place. If you have any thoughts, obviously in the stream chat, you can continue to fire them in. I'm sure everyone has their own opinion.
Definitely. I definitely encourage people to, we definitely encourage people to get in touch in regards to their thoughts and opinions or any questions that you like.
You're a bit quiet, by the way.
Oh, aye, because once I got up after the flare, my mic got caught between my leg, with the inside of my leg, so I had to plug it back in, so it's maybe just taking a wee while to get back up to speed, but hopefully it's fine now. But I hope that we did have a fair few years getting up off your chair on your couch, taking a knee with us, and being in solidarity, knowing that racism was never welcome in our community, and knowing that we are going to do everything in our power to make it better. And honestly, it is simple as signing petitions. It's like we're saying, signing petitions, sharing posts on social media, getting the word out, educating others, and that's what we're trying to do here. Is we're trying to broadcast where the main issues are and where they lie in terms of systematic racism and the injustices. We are trying to educate yourselves, and also, I mean, educating yourself is a big start as well. And I will say this: like, racism is the evil that we need to get rid of, and we need to eradicate it. But if you educate yourself to make yourself a better person, like, we're not sitting here saying all this, and if you are that person that we are talking about, you're nowhere redeemable. All you need to do is just educate yourself and open your horizons, and just cleanse of the different values, the values that we are trying to tackle. We can always be better, but we must be better this time. It's every day, and it was the same thing as I said before. And me and Mex have sat and talked about it at the start of the stream as well. Like, white people have that privilege to just turn their eye and that's it away. Like, they are no subject to it every day. They don't experience it every day. And I'll put my hand up to. I've know that I can remember ever if I've been subject to my race on anything, and that's a big problem. And it's the fact that we can still use our privilege, but for the better. Like, we can get our word out here, unite and stand against it. And it's what Meg says, we just need to be better. Like, it's not good enough. And I seen a tweet, I think you actually shared it, and it was for Bill Nye, or somebody with Bill Nye.
Yeah.
And he basically, and see, honestly, right, I will no be, right, see the tweet, and it was captioned Bill, I was going to say Bill Gates for some weird reason there. Bill Gates just doing his part, don't see him doing anything. Bill Nye just ended racism. And I don't understand that particular wording, because you say what skin colour actually is. Doesn't mean you say it's away. It doesn't mean you say it's done with. And it's the problem with the wording of that tweet I didn't like, but Bill Nye explaining why people are different, have a different skin colour, was actually quite interesting, and I did not know that. Like, and that's the same thing with educating. Like, you can just see one thing on Twitter, and you're like, oh, alright, okay, didn't ken that's how it was. And it's just these steps like that are going to gradually snowball and make everything better. But sadly, in my opinion, and it's only going to be an opinion, you can feel free to completely disagree with this, argue it, agree with it, whatever. Like what you were saying earlier, it's, I think you said it earlier, or I must have seen it earlier, it's a generational thing, and it's the same people that are the ones arguing against it. Like you were saying, Mario Andretti, Sir Jackie Stewart, and it was like Mario Andretti said Lewis Hamilton was becoming a bit of a militant figure about it, demanding folk take the knee, and then Jackie Stewart was like, oh, but racism was there when I was there back in the 70s, and I was like, alright Jackie, I mean, like, I show preference to people that are Scottish, but I cannot side with Jackie Stewart on that. Like, because Formula 1 is as white as it gets. Like, Lewis Hamilton came into the sport in 2007 and he was the first black driver. And even then, like,
I think it was
it's just
Barcelona, was it? People in the crowd saying Hamilton's family with their painting their faces black. So I mean, he was the only man, and obviously he rises above it all the time. He's the one to speak out all the time, and he uses his voice for good. And not enough people do that. Not enough people who should. All the F1 drivers should. They have a big enough platform. But then it's mixed, so what can you do?
I saw the thing. I saw the thing in regards to Max Verstappen and how he said they was taking the knee, and then that spiraled because Max Verstappen, outside of Lewis Hamilton, has the biggest fan base in Formula One. Like, Max Verstappen basically has the weight of the Netherlands on his shoulder when he's racing, and they go to various events throughout Europe. You see the Sea of Orange at Spa in Germany. Well, we've not got a Germany anymore, as far as I'm aware. Like, we've seen them in Spa, Austria. They even go down to Hungary. Like, they were at Germany last year and the year before. And he's got such a big following, and then like, because of his refusal to partake in the knee gesture, the Netherlands had a trending hashtag saying, well, in Dutch it was, "Oh, we don't kneel for idiots," and that just shows how powerful your platform can be.
Mm.
And it was, and I mean. Right, and the same thing with Charles Leclerc. Like, he tweeted when Hamilton basically called the sport out way back when, before the season started, and it was like, oh, the sport needs to do better. We are this, and we are this, and this is wrong. We need to open our doors, be more inclusive. Races won. We races won. Sorry, that's the message. Zydrad says not enough people want to change, which is the problem, and that is true. That is where the problem lies. And you really, I mean, when I look at social media and just the comment sections, motorsport, a general sport, and just culture, it always seems to be the older demographic that has the problem. Like, I'll not like shy away and say that there is just people that are my age that have this problem, because I've met people with this problem that kind of share this view, and I'm not saying it's just this particular demographic, but the majority it comes from that demographic that we're talking about. And I definitely, the Hamilton Commission is a good step forward. Definitely, he started a commission, and that was to try and bring in people of colour into the sport and be more inclusive and diverse and everything else, and try and bridge that gap. And you've got him saying, oh, the sport needs to do better, and I'm wholeheartedly agreeing with that. Like, the sport, as I said, is as white as it gets. And then obviously Max Verstappen, his platform basically had a full country gone against the whole movement. You had Charles Leclerc, who is just, I was going to swear there, I had to stop myself, but he's too busy side hopping between, we need to do better, but then he says he doesn't want to be political, and then I'm like, you're the problem. Like, and that's the thing as well, like, I mean, it's the same with like Zydrad saying not enough people want to change, which is the problem. And I would argue, like, the knee, it was started by Colin Kaepernick in the NFL 4 years ago, because he was kneeling in protest to what was going on in America with the racial inequality and desperation at the time, and I mean still is the time, because not much has changed, but the knee has become the symbol. And if Formula One can't broadcast as a message, I mean, even in Hungary there, not everybody wore the t-shirts. Like, they had End Racism, and then Hamilton had the Black Lives Matter one on, and then not everybody wore that, and then even less took the knee, or was, and even I seen Ted Kravitz saying the same thing, Simon Lazenby's been saying the same thing. The message is just getting lost in translation. Like, I don't understand why the sport can't just rally round and unite. And that is the young drivers seem to the young drivers seem to forget their influence in the unintentional manipulation of their fans. That's the kind of thing as well. And then you've got people were saying you can stand and still say end racism, and I do get that. Like, but if you, I mean, in my opinion, if you can't take the knee and just show that union, then why should I believe what you're saying?
Exactly.
And
yeah, I mean, you know, he said about the Hamilton Commission, which is a good step forward. And that will be a process, of course. He doesn't know how many people as of yet, I believe I remember him saying. We wait and see on that one, but that is, well, obviously he's the pioneer of Black Lives in Formula 1 at the moment, so he's the one who speaks out. He's the one who's trying his best, and I think obviously it would kind of be, it's almost right for him to win the World Championship this year. Removing all the race and moving all of your fans or what, everything. If it was just going to say one driver this year who would win, it would be Lewis Hamilton, of what he's done this year already, of what he's done outside the sport. Like I say, removing all the fan bases from absolutely everyone. If you're just a neutral, almost, you'd say Lewis Hamilton would be kind of the right person to win the championship this year, regardless of records and all that.
Zydrad's just commented in the chat saying F1 seems to talk about change but lacks the action to actually change, and I would wholeheartedly agree with that. F1 just can't seem to get the gesture right. We race as one as the message. They've also even painted some of the cars in the colours in a rainbow formation, and I think that's to be more symbolic and inclusive towards the LGBTQ plus community as well. And I definitely feel like the sport is trying, but it's not doing a good enough job. It's as simple as that. Like, it's the same thing we continue to exercise here. They can't take a knee together. 20 drivers can't take a knee and show solidarity behind not only their only black driver, but also the black communities across the globe. They've got Roman Grosjean, who came out and says, alright, once was plenty, and then he's using privilege to turn a blind eye to that. Hamilton said that Sebastian Vettel was the only driver that's been constantly texting him saying we need to do more. And honestly, like, see the amount of hate Sebastian Vettel gets, but yet he's just this, like, good guy at heart. Like, he's got the biggest heart in Formula 1. And I mean, his performances are another thing, but see, being a general human, he is arguably the best.
Yeah, he gets so much hate, undeserved hate, for what he does, and he is, I mean, when he's not on the grid next year, he will be missed, because he is a character we need in Formula 1, and obviously supporting his mate, isn't he? So you say, people say, they're rivals. They are rivals on track, but they don't dislike each other. There's no way they dislike each other. If you see them around each other, yeah, they might, obviously, like, you'll probably have the old argument or whatever, like, you can see from their body language when they're around each other, they don't dislike each other. Zydra said, Lewis said George and Lando also want to be more involved. Yeah, they're two young drivers as well. Not just the oldest statesman of the grid.
Honestly, I will admit, I didn't see that George and Lando were wanting to partake and be further engaged with the action. I mean, I don't want to be the one that pokes the fire, but in regards to the tweets that Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc put out before the first race of the season, in regards to their actions to the knee, Lando Norris, I mean, I can't remember exactly what the tweet was word for word, but it kind of put a big bit of doubt on whether he would actually do it or not, and I remember it being a bit of a deal at the time. and then he eventually did take the knee, and I think he has for the last 2 races as well. So genuinely has been it's been good to get. I mean, and that's the kind of thing as well. Like Lando and George, they have been. It's the same. It's been George, Lando, Alex Albon. Who has been in it? Charles Leclerc's been in it, but I'll not count him for the now. And there's been a few other drivers that have been partaking in the esports series. That was not the esports series, the virtual sports series. That was a subtle replacement for the Formula One races that were missing at the start of the season, and they did a wee mini season with that. And not only did they have a big enough fan base before that started, but the esports, I'll just say the esports for the sake of saying it, because I'll keep saying it. But the fact that they partook in that kind of grew their fan bases as well, and they've got a good platform now to, if they can get behind Lewis, they can get more people behind the movement. It's the same. It's like Zydrad says, like younger people might not know their influence on social media, but if George and Lando are showing support by getting in touch with Lewis Hamilton and saying they want to do more, then that can be a big boost in the movement, in a sporting perspective.
Yeah, he said today about George and Lando, if that's to do with that message before. So yeah, I mean, you just want. I mean, I say it's just not enough, though, is it? I'd rather every single driver on the grid say they want to do more than just Vettel, Seb Vettel, George Russell, and Lando Norris. It's just like, well, sort of like to take the knee, but what's the point if they're sending out a mixed message? Yeah, they have the We Racers one. They don't kneel as one.
And that undermines that message.
Exactly. So what Hamilton's trying to do his best. He's speaking out almost every day. He's speaking out. He's just disappointed to see the world as it is, and rightly so, because things like this will still happen. But we can't let this die a quiet death. We have to keep talking about it every day. Like I say, Black Lives Matter today, tomorrow, and every single day after that, because that's the only way our world is going to improve. I don't want to experience racism anymore. I know my family doesn't want to experience racism anymore. Yeah, I mean, I remember I went to Wimbledon a little while ago now, and I, being the only mixed race person there, with all the staff and the people we went with, I was the only person that was searched. So it's, there's that misconception of black people are the ones who are going to do wrong, almost. I remember Michael Holding mentioning once again that he said that there was a study at Yale University in America with, I think it was primary school teachers, I think about 90 primary school teachers, or there was a certain large number of primary school teachers, to spot, see if they could spot any trouble or any people causing trouble in the video that they would play to him, and they had some sort of eye tracking device, and then so there was like three white boys, 3 black boys, 3 white girls and 3 black girls. The results were that there was no wrongdoing in either in any of the videos that they show, and then the results showed that the eyes were focused on the black boys and the black girls majority of the people, and there was only one person that didn't want the results to be shared. And then obviously, well, you know what their beliefs are. All the other people wanted the results to be shared because they were shocked that that's what they were caught doing, and they need to be shown. It wasn't even too long ago that I was in my road, and then this woman, I didn't really understand. I'm gonna open my heart out to everybody here. Yeah, I from a young age I've been diagnosed with autism or Asperger's syndrome, selective muteness as well, which is why I can be quiet sometimes, reserved as well. But it explains, I don't use it as an excuse at all. I try to be myself every day. And yeah, so this woman, older woman, she was shouting across the road from another house. I don't know what she said, but then she worked out saying, can you help with this table or something? And then yeah, I kind of, because my mum was there, so I kind of tapped my mum because I didn't know what to say, because that's how I am. Sometimes I don't know what to say, so I don't say anything, and I rely on my mum a lot to help me out with stuff. And then by the time my mum turned around, she said, "Oh," and then that woman goes, "Oh, he doesn't speak English." And as you can tell right now, I speak very good English. So yeah. It's not. It still happens. It's not great. It's not even. It's not great at all. Don't really want to. It's something that, you know, I'd find hard to talk about usually, but it's something that needs to be said about anything in your life. You know, people want to come out with their sexuality. Or their sexual orientation, they can do, you know, it's their choice, but people are afraid to do that. It's the society we live in. There's racism all around. The society we live in is just not right. It needs to improve. Like the black transgender community is, I saw some stuff on that as well. It's just that they have troubles, obviously. If you're, you know, obviously we had Pride Month last month, highlighting that it is a hard world to live in, and it shouldn't be a hard world to live in. And I want everybody to have equal opportunity, whatever race you are, because at the end of the day we are all one race, and that is the human race. And that is really what I have to say on the matter.
We have Jay Geddes saying that you're one of the nicest blokes ever, and I totally agree with that. We got on like two peas in a pod, me and you. We've been good pals for a good couple of years now, and he says he's sorry to hear your experiences. Zydrad says he's sorry to hear it, and the whole community are behind you to support you, and I agree with that. I'm honestly really sorry to hear that's what you've been put through, and what just how that's just how that really just goes about as if it's alright, as if that's normal, and that really needs to change. Like you were saying, like when you get searched at Wimbledon, and like I'm struggling to find the words. Like, it really just shows you like how in your face it is. And you were talking about the study at Yale, and it reminded me of another study as well, and it was Jane Elliott's blue eyes, brown eyes experiment, and it's on YouTube. She done the experiment just after Martin Luther King's assassination in 1968. And she divided her students between the eye colour. And if you had blue eyes, you were treated one way, and if you were brown eyed, you were treated the other way. Obviously, eye colour's like different. Like, but if it was like if they had a brown or a blue eye, it would just be non-brown, brown, blue, non-blue. Like, and if you were one colour of eye, you were treated as a white person. And if you were non-blue, you were treated as a black person. And honestly, like, you would sit and look at that experiment for the first time, looking at it and look like, oh, that's highly unethical, you can't get away with that. And then you sit and say to yourself, but that's what's happening. Like, it's being, like, there was a time where, like, if a white person would want to, if a blue-eyed person wanted to go to the bathroom, she'd be like, alright, okay, on you go. And then if a non-blue person, a non-blue-eyed person done it, and they're like, right, you sit there and you're not moving, and then like they start punishing them for like literally anything, like, and that's how disadvantaged people of colour are, and I feel like that experiment itself was actually quite an education for understanding it, because it puts you in that position. You're being discriminated against, being dealt these injustices, and like, I mean, that's the kind of thing as well. You're only like, and metaphorically, you're only a black person for the experiment, and then if you're white, you can go back and just live your day to day, but you see it for the other side, and people have come out that experiment that have partook it and said, "Oh, we definitely need to change. That's not on." But there's still some people in the YouTube video in the experiment today, and it still shows you that some folks still can't see it. And it kind of goes back to what Zydar was saying again, like, not everybody wants to change. And that experiment also, like, it shows you, it kind of shows you the harsh reality that people of colour have to go through day to day. And then you've got people like me who never have and never will experience that, and that in itself needs to change, and we need to be equal now.
Yeah. It is.
It
was. Yeah. It has been. It's been tough, of course. Being the way I am, who I am. I never thought I'd even be doing this, so. Yeah. I used to be. Well, I had no confidence being. Well, I am. I did drama as a GCSE just to be more confident. I didn't want to do it as a career. I didn't want to be in performance arts at all, but something I forced myself to do to be more confident and help me almost speak out against anything or for what I believe in, because you have to do that sometimes. Otherwise, people are just not going to listen. The more you say, you just got to keep banging on about it. And that's what we have to keep banging on about it until we actually get change. Because this is not gonna go away. I don't want it to go away. You don't want it to go away. Nobody wants to go away. We're only just a small community of people who are just like, oh, I'll stop talking about it. We're not going to stop talking about it, so we're going to rise above absolutely everybody, and we're going to defeat the narrative that racism doesn't exist, because it does exist. So, and I'm sure we'll have everyone's continued support as well. It's been an honour to hold this race for everyone who's taken part. It's been an honour to commentate alongside and commentate in quotation marks alongside you, Rigsy, and you've obviously talked so eloquently about previous history, and you are a fountain of knowledge as always. And we'll see if like to see if anybody else has any opinions on it afterwards as well. But yeah,
cool.
We've tried to cover as much as we can in the time we have got.
Don't forget 3 laps, 4 laps left. But we'll see if I mean we've not really been paying too much attention to this race, so
No.
if we want to maybe get like the I mean, if you're here just for the background and here to listen to us talk like a podcast, then well you can just keep doing you. But I hope that we have definitely enlightened you in some fashion. I definitely hope that something that we've said, whether it is Andretti and Jackie Stewart's opinions, Grosjean's opinions, Merck's experiences, general racism in society, governments, anything in this stream that you've heard or seen in the chat has been an education for you, then you've went away a better person. A better person. But we can always keep building on that, and when you listen to this, that is the opportunity to do so. I mean, I will probably be sharing some stuff on Twitter afterwards on how you can engage with the material on the Twitter feed, and I'm assuming I'll get an administrator on top of that as well to share it on their platform, as well. Merckx will fire in his own material as well, and we will continue to educate and broadcast opportunities for you to engage and make the world better. But we'll get like the podium sitters in, or we'll get a couple of names in for a quick few words just to talk about the race that we've barely watched. I couldn't even have tell you what happened, so that'll be fun doing that. But we'll get them in for their opinions, what they've got to say, and really just honestly, ladies and gents, however you identify, we need to do better. And I think that is going to be the main message for this, is we must be better. Like,
Yeah.
If you take anything away from this, take that away from it.
Yeah. Yeah, we are, as SLR, we are a community that will stand against racism, stand for diversity, race with each other, and not make any judgment on the character of people. Yeah, we'll have our arguments, but we're only human. And we will, off the track, we will do our best to show the community what we can do. As I see Ranga go into the wall there. That's the first time I actually mentioned this race. But yeah, we're not long to go now, so we'll see. I think I might invite Ranga into the party afterwards. I'm sure he, say, obviously one of the league owners, and he was full in support of me holding this race. Yeah, we'll get views of a few people. What they want to say, of course. It's been nice to see all the different liveries that we have, and it shows that we do indeed race as one.
Definitely, we need to just keep going. We've started now, and this is the time to move forward. We need more recognition. We need more awareness. And I mean, the world needs to do better. General society needs to do better. League racing communities need to do better. We need to do better. Like, everybody has a part to play in this, and we need to keep playing our part. And I will quickly just sidetrack for a slight second here, as we've got a battle for the lead. Midzi taking it on the final turn. I've just literally caught a quick glimpse of that, but
Pushing
it is Midzi that.
Midzi had a ton of penalties anyway, so it didn't matter. Put on a show for the crowd. That is our race done and dusted. I think we have brought had a
Definitely.
lot of information across this, so be sure to watch it back if you so need to. Yeah, we could invite. I'll invite.
Who do
Invite.
you want in?
I don't mind. I don't mind. Who's in? I'll invite Ranga once he's finished.
Like Ranga.
Cheers then. Yeah, invite him in. You can invite the top three as well if you want to.
Aye.
Uh,
So who is it? That three? Ryan,
Hamjam,
Mitzi, and Ham.
Mitzi, and Orion. Yes. And then Ranga will get him in as well.
Why is Mitzi having to appear offline, man? Jesus. Making my job harder.
No,
Jam
it's Jam
Ham
Ham
drive
with
of the
the
day there.
drive of the day.
Ryan
He's-
and Mitzi's going to be all the way at the bottom. He's peeling offline. And have you got Ranga, or do I get Ranga here when I'm at it?
I got him. I'll invite him.
Right, no, that's fine. But aye, like, it's
Yeah,
just
man.
a matter of, like, I mean, I mean, it might sound repetitive, but it's got to be repetitive. We must do better. Almost does say drive the day for Baggy. But
You got all these results.
I've honestly paid zero attention to this race. I've just been too busy looking at the chat to see what's been happening in there. We've been sitting talking about the main issues. I feel Merckx has been opening up to sharing his personal experiences with the viewers. We've been talking about the power that racism carries and how we need to go about eradicating that and just generally being better. And it's honestly it's more in your face than you think. You can't just say it's no here, so it's no a problem here, but it's always a problem somewhere. And just engaging and signing a petition, reading an article, sharing an article, donating to a charity, educating somebody, educating yourself is always going to be a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Don't know if Ranga's gonna come in or not, but well, we didn't actually watch the race in depth, but nice side by side battle towards the end there. So just want to
Yeah, alright.
start with Ham, as he was the winner. You can talk us through that race. Obviously, this was a race for Black Lives Matter. I am proud to see all you guys out there racing for that. Just want to see if you guys have a few words. We'll start with Ham first.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, the race was kind of an afterthought. Really, it wasn't really about the race, but it was nice to at least participate and show kind of your kind of thoughts on that or whatever. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I kind of look forward to watching it back because obviously it would be nice to know what you had to say on it, and it's nice that obviously we can use this platform that we have. It'll be a relatively small one. We can still use it to express our feelings and views on stuff, and I feel like that's a really good thing. Obviously, it's kind of what it's there for, isn't it? So it's good that we can use that.
Too right. Mitzi.
Yeah, pretty much the same really. I mean, it's not really, well, SLR's not really a big community, is it? But glad we could all come together and show our support for you, especially as well, Merckx, on this issue that we have. So yeah, it's pretty similar to what Harry said. He summed it up really nicely. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, it's just good we could all come together and organise this and show show awareness and appreciation.
Yeah.
Obviously, Black Lives Matter.
Ryan, you got anything more to add?
No, I mean, it's same as what Ham and Mitty both said. I think it's obviously the race wasn't the important thing today. It was the showing the importance of the Black Lives Matter, and that's spreading the awareness. Yeah, I mean, it's a great idea that obviously Mertz came up with, and I'm happy I could maybe help in some way. But yeah, I think it's definitely a good idea and a good way to spread awareness for it. So I hope it went all well, and yeah, I hope it worked out.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys, for obviously passing it again. Thanks for saying a few words as well afterwards. It's been a pleasure with Riggs, as always, talking about this issue. No matter how big or small your voice is, just try and get out there and be heard, and that is what we have done tonight. I think that is a good conclusion for today. Black Lives Matter today and the next day and every single day after that. We are SLR and we race as one. And that will be all for tonight.